So this morning we are working on, for National Public Lands Day, which is something we do every year, we are working on tree maintenance and planting. And we have over 222 trees and shrubs that we've planted, and a lot of them have this deer fencing, which protects them both from being eaten by deer, from getting rubbed against by the deer, from being flattened by the deer. Sometimes they're like elephants in the park. And but now some of the plants have outgrown their deer fencing. And so we're doing both maintenance on the old plantings, and we're planting 24 trees and shrubs along this hillside and again along the stream bank. So we have all sorts of great tree species, some fruiting trees, other flowering plants, and we're really excited. So what we'll do first is to cut off any of the zip ties that are holding the cage on.
Yeah, so listen up for a second. If you're taking a cage off a tree, the tree's more important than the cage.
Yes.
So if a branch has grown through the cage, just cut a big chunk of the cage, snip it all off, get rid of that piece, and then gently bring the cage across the branch. Because we can trash the cage if we have to. We don't have to save them. But we don't want to break branches or strip leaves off the trees.
Then we carefully pull it off. All right, we've got one branch here, but we sort of predetermined which trees we want to, we're calling it limbing up, where you cut off the lower branches. And actually, Marcia, do you want to explain like why we would limb up the tree?
Yeah. What we're doing is we're protecting these trees from deer, essentially, and we're keeping an eye on the structure of the tree. So while they're smaller, we're going to take off like any cross branches, because eventually we're not going to be able to take care of that. So while limbing them up, what we mean is we're taking the limbs off the bottom and making the tree look like it has a trunk. But in the case of these trees, what we're trying to do is protect them. And we're going to be putting a different type of cage on them. We have a tree guard.
All right, so this is a reusable cage because we didn't have to cut it up.
It's just as well.
So if you get a reusable cage, yell, I'll come get it.
Actually, here's
We're going to stage all the reusables over here.
And so then, in a lot of cases, you're just going to be able to wiggle the post out. And once again, making sure you're not sort of harming the tree while you do it. But we just wiggle out the posts, put them to the side. And I think George would probably just showed you just neatly rolling up the fence because we're going to reuse it. If you have trouble, and sometimes these get caught on like tree roots and it gets really difficult to remove, we do have shovels that you could use. Like sometimes you actually have to dig it out, which is a pain. So we're not going to eradicate the stilt grass this morning, but we'll at least clear it around the plants that we planted so that, you know, we're reducing it and making it easier for them to grow. So the steps were we removed it carefully. Oh, and one other thing, check for a metal tree tag. Make sure you don't lose the tree tag in the course of doing the tree, because we've marked most but not all, and eventually it'll be all of the trees that we've planted have these tags, and they indicate what the common name, the Latin name, and the year that we planted it. So what you're going to do is with the tree guard itself, if there is, and it just depends on how it's cut. Sometimes this will be this case, sometimes not. There's a smooth side and a side that has the spikes coming down. We want the spikes at the bottom so that we can kind of dig it into the ground a little bit. It'll sort of keep in place, and it just looks nicer having the smooth edge on top. And then this is the easy part. You'll see how much easier it is to use these tree guards than it is the deer fences. You just use 4 zip ties. No posts, no pesky wire that gets tangled up. I mean, these things are beautiful. So we're going to be replacing at least 13 of our deer fences today with these tree guards, and it's nice to be getting to the point that our trees have grown that much that we can do that.
Everything that we're planting today are native plants, pretty much native to the mid-Atlantic area, so they're going to be in symbiosis with the animals here. When we plant anything, or when we dig a hole for anything, you want to gently take it out of the cage, out of the container. So what you want to do is gently kind of roll it like this a little bit. Some of them will be easier to plant. They haven't been in there that long, right? And stick your finger in the bottom if it's easy to get out, and it should gently come out. Now these were just transplanted to a bigger pot, so that's why that came out like that. So you want to make sure that you're getting the whole root ball, okay? The main thing that we want to do is look at the pot, look at the depth of the root ball, and you want to dig your hole the depth of the root ball from the top of the base of the woody part to the depth of the root ball. We don't put any amendments in because our goal is, by amendments I mean you don't want to put compost in there or any kind of chemical stuff in there. You want the plant to try to reach out into the native soil. So let's move on over here and we'll talk about this, and then the first thing you're going to want to do, and here's Pat and Ron.
Working in the quarry here.
Yeah. Okay, yes. So this particular area has a lot of rock. You may run into that down below. Woo!
Thank you.
I almost hit your head.
Yeah, you did.
So you can see we're digging a little deeper than this pot. Let me see how, did we get it out? All right, great. This is a persimmon. This is a native persimmon. Persimmon are in the family, and there are a number of different types of trees where you need a male and a female. Meaning it's dioecious. There are two houses, dioecious, two houses. So as you can see, they get a beautiful fall color. This will have a nice canopy, and ideally sometime in the future you'll be able to come and eat some persimmon.
See how that looks.
Okay, so look, that's a little low, all right? So what we're gonna do is, and the way you can tell it's too low, and that's okay, we wanted to dig this hole deeper, we're gonna fill it back in. You can take a tool and go across this area, and this is a little high because of the soil, but you wanna make sure that this flare at the bottom is above this. It's important on most trees, even some of these very large trees that you see. The nutrients are coming up and down the fibrovascular bundles that are just under the bark. So once you go into the inside of that tree, it's dead heartwood. It's helping to support the tree, it's doing a lot of things, but the water, the nutrients are coming up right under that skin that's right there, whether it's bark or just a dark woody part. So that's why we don't want to plant it too low, because if we start piling mulch up against there, this winter when it's cold, our little voles and mice and squirrels are going to get down there and they'll chew that bark. And they'll chew it because there's nutrients in there and there's moisture in there, and it will, what we call, girdle the tree. And if they take all that bark around, it'll kill the tree no matter how big the tree is. So all right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take this back out, and Ron's going to show you how to loosen up the roots a little bit. And we just want to loosen this up. Now this one is not too bad. And what we want to do is get these roots to start, to encourage them to go out into that soil, all right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this soil, the native soil, and fill it back up, probably about 2 inches, and we'll see if that does it for us. And we want to break up any of these big clumps. Obviously you want to get the rocks out, and you will notice this is kind of red looking. This is clay. Welcome to Delaware County. Just about everything we have here is clay, and also it's very acidic. Oh, that looks good. That looks good. So we're going to start backfilling this and get rid of the rocks, and we're going to make sure that we leave that root flare. So when you have this kind of a situation, we'll leave a little bit, it'll be a little higher on this side, a little lower on this side, but you want to make sure that the low side is level, because you don't want erosion to happen, you know, where we're going downhill. And what I will do is take all these rocks and put them on the low side. It'll help to keep some of that mulch and the runoff in there instead of having it wash away. Oh, we have mulch? Great, we got some mulch. Great.
We don't want to go on to
Congratulations, you've all completed groundkeeping 101.
Yes, yes.